friends, thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. Today I'm going to be telling you about the books that I read in the month of November. Thankfully, I remembered this month to vlog along the way. So I have for you a bunch of clips that will show you all of the books that I read in the month of November. So I'm just gonna let those start playing and then I'll wrap things up at the end.
Good morning, friends. It is Tuesday, November 6th, and I am sitting outside the library. I'm about to bring my little buddy to the library for story time. Hey, bud, can you say hi? Hi. Hi. I hope you could hear him. I finished already my first book for Nonfiction November, and I'm so excited that I started with this one because it really got me motivated to read the rest, but it is overdue at the library, and I just kept it until I was done. And that is Educated by Tara Westover. This is a narrative nonfiction, and what that means to me is that it reads like a story, and parts of this really do feel almost unbelievable, very novel-like. I flew through this in just 2 days, I think, maybe 2.5 days, and that is so unlike me and nonfiction in general. But I was just so captivated by Tara's stories. This is Tara's memoir of growing up in a survivalist family. Really, her father was definitely the patriarch of this family. She is the youngest, I believe, of 7 siblings. And her father almost had a paranoia about the end of the world coming. They are a part of a Mormon community. However, the father in particular had some extreme beliefs, and they lived kind of isolated on this mountain in Idaho. And this is just the story mostly of her growing up and her family relationships. There's some abuse from a brother dealing with the paranoia and mental disorder that her father has, and what that was like for her as a child. Being so isolated, they were not allowed to go, they didn't go to doctors, they didn't go to school. So it's just very extreme. I really loved hearing about how she and even some of her siblings broke out of that culture. In a way, they were almost brainwashed because they didn't have outside influences to tell them any other way than what their father was teaching them. Some of them ended up buying textbooks and teaching themselves and ultimately going to college. So she attended BYU college. She scraped her way in and just began to experience the world ultimately. And she's incredibly smart and very determined. Yeah, it was just such a captivating story. So I would very much recommend this book, especially if you struggle with nonfiction. I think this is a fantastic gateway book into some nonfiction. Gateway book sounds like a drug. But yeah, I really enjoyed this and would definitely highly recommend it. All right, I am in the middle of 2 other nonfiction, so I should be talking to you in a day or 2 with another wrap up.
Guys, I just filmed my October wrap up and it's 33 minutes long. That sucks. That is a lot of editing I'm gonna have to do. Anyways, I just wanted to let you know that I did complete the Magnolia Story 2 days ago, I think. I listened to this on audiobook. It's by Chip and Joanna Gaines, and it's the story of Magnolia. So it's a story of their business and their brand and how they came together. We get a little bit from their childhoods, just to kind of give us an idea of who they were and how they became, how their personalities developed. And then we get the beginning of their relationship together, and then the different businesses that they had that led to this whole Magnolia brand company, show, store, at the silos, all of that. I really did enjoy this. I liked that Chip and Joanna read it themselves. I've never had cable, so I don't watch a lot of Fixer Upper, but I've seen a few of the shows here and there, and I really do enjoy their banter back and forth and the way that they relate to each other, but I also enjoy home decor makeover type shows. I do enjoy those very much. After reading Educated, it was kind of funny to come and read this because this felt very surfacey. They had some struggles, but it doesn't get very deep into how those struggles affected them. But I was okay with that. I just liked hearing how their brand came to be, how they came to be as a couple, and a little bit more about them. So I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It's not gonna rock your world, but if you like Fixer Upper or you like shopping, their brand is at Target now even, it's just an interesting kind of glimpse into their lives. So I really did enjoy that.
Hi friends, I'm back in the car. I'm waiting for my defrost to kick in so I can head to work. I'm headed tonight to New York to go to my mother's house for Thanksgiving, and I'm very excited. But I wanted to just tell you quickly about 2 more books that I have been working on in November. I did finish Unbroken by Laura Hillenbrand. This was my Goodreads read-along group pick for the month of November, and it was another narrative nonfiction, sort of in the same vein as Educated. My glasses are fogging up. It tells the story of Louis Zamperini, and his story was incredibly dramatic, I guess you could say. He was a rambunctious child, ended up becoming a runner, and turns out he was really, really good at it. So he ended up going to the Olympics. Then he joined up to be a soldier during World War II. He was a bombardier on planes in the Pacific. One time he was just doing a run with his men, and his plane went down over the Pacific. We just follow him from there as he becomes a prisoner of war in Japan. This guy's story was horrifying. The things that he and other prisoners of war had to endure during the war was just almost difficult to read because it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. I was very captivated by this book and by his life and his story and his personality and the way that he and the other soldiers kept their spirits up, or tried to keep their spirits up, in the midst of just horrific situations and abuse and starvation. And there's one line that says that of all the hells that he's been through, this next one is even worse. And it kind of describes, because his plane goes down and he survives on an inflatable raft in the Pacific for 40 something days, the whole while being surrounded by sharks. That alone would do it for me. But to then be captured by Japanese soldiers and taken to multiple different places within Japan, and just the abuse is horrifying. But then in the end, to find out how it all wraps up, how it all affected him emotionally, mentally, spiritually, it was just such a good book. There was a bit of oversharing, I guess, not oversharing, but over information about some of the nitty gritty of the fighter planes and how they worked and how big they were and how much they weighed. There was a little too much information about some of that stuff that I just didn't care about. I just wanted to get back to Louis' story, but I guess it all kind of worked together. So I really loved that one. Definitely gave it 5 stars. And then there was another book that I've been reading off and on all month, and that is Quiet by Susan Cain. And this book has been putting me in a reading slump. I haven't been interested in it. It's about introverts living in an extrovert world. It's the type of nonfiction that keeps me from reading nonfiction. I just don't enjoy it. We don't have enough personal stories. It's more studies talking about nature versus nurture when it comes to introversion and high sensitivity or low sensitivity. And it's just a little too detailed, and I just don't care about it. Not detailed, that's not the right word, but maybe too scientific, too many cases, too much that I just don't care about. I guess I thought it would be more practical. I thought it would be more personal stories of introverts and how they succeeded within an extrovert world, but that's not at all what it is. And so I've decided to put this one down. I did make it like 140 pages in, so I made it more than halfway, but I think that is going to be it for me for Quiet. I am taking a little break from nonfiction for maybe the rest of the month. I am bringing Just Mercy home with me to my mom's house, so I may still get one more nonfiction in, but I did read 3 this month and a half. So I feel like that's a really good participation level for me for Nonfiction November, since I don't read very much nonfiction at all. I do still want to read Being Mortal, and I definitely still want to read Just Mercy, but I'm not sure that this is the month for me to read them, since I'm not really in the mood for nonfiction at this point. There you have it. I will be back to tell you what I read next. So it is now almost the end of the month, but I have 4 books to talk about that I read mostly while I was away in New York for Thanksgiving weekend. I traveled 9 hours in the car to go see my mom and my sister, along with my brother who lives with me. So on the way there, I started pretty much and finished listening to Persuasion by Jane Austen. This is my favorite Austen novel. I absolutely love the story of Anne Elliot, who had an almost romance with this man, but was kind of talked out of it when she was young. But then 8 years later, this man comes back into her life. So this is the story of Anne, who is about the only sane person in this crazy family. Her father and older sister are very vain and self-absorbed. They're totally clueless as to what other people think of them, but they're very aware of what they think of themselves, and they think very highly of themselves.
And her younger sister is a bit of a hypochondriac, always thinking that she's ill and wanting the attention and wanting to be kind of center of attention. So Anne is kind of in the middle and handles her family so beautifully and with such grace. I absolutely love her so much. And I just love Jane Austen's wit and humor. This one I find to be pretty humorous. It was very short and I really, really enjoyed listening to it on audio. I haven't listened to any of her books on audio, and I think that I'm going to try to listen to a couple more on audiobook because I really enjoyed that experience in the car. Then at my mom's, I picked up one of my Jane Austen kind of retelling fan fiction type books called Ostensibly Ordinary. And this really focuses on Emma. So this girl, Kate, is an English teacher at a high school, I believe, and they're studying the book of Emma. And in her life, she kind of tries to do a little matchmaking and has a really good friend that obviously kind of turns into a romance there, or you think it might turn into a romance anyway. There's a little bit of magical realism in this, in that Kate finds this journal. She begins writing in this journal, and mysteriously someone kind of responds or takes her message and turns it into some sort of response. So there's a little bit of this magical element to this journal, which was just kind of fun. This was a 3-star read. It wasn't fantastic. It wasn't awful. It was just perfectly fun little romance for the holiday weekend for me. Another book that I finished while I was at my mom's is The Kiss of Deception, and this is the first in the Remnant Chronicles, which is a YA fantasy series trilogy, I think. And in this book, the short summary is that this girl is a first daughter, which first daughters have a lot of importance in this society. And she is kind of her parents have arranged for her to marry a son of another city or kingdom kind of nearby. And she is not having it. So with her maid, she runs away, and the prince that she was set to marry, as well as an assassin from another kingdom, track her down, and she has interactions with these two men, but you don't know which one is which. The book kind of keeps you guessing as to which one is the prince and which one is the assassin. And so things kind of take off from there. I was really invested in this story. It's just about 500 pages, but I kind of flew through it because it was very intriguing to me. I really enjoyed it, which YA fantasy isn't always a hit for me, but this one I really enjoyed, and I'm glad that I have the second one because I'm hoping to get to it very soon. It kind of left with a bit of a cliffhanger. Not a total cliffhanger, but definitely left me wanting more. So I gave this one 4 stars, I believe, and I'm very excited to continue. The fourth book is one that I listened to on audio on my way home. I think only listened to Casey West books on long car rides. I don't think I've ever read a physical copy, but I listened to Listen to Your Heart, I believe is the title, by Casey West. And this one was interesting. It's about high school students. The main character lives on this lake and really is kind of loves the lake, and her parents run a marina, and when she gets older she wants to run the marina as well. Her parents kind of want her to branch out and try other things, so in light of that she signs up for a podcasting class at high school with her friend and ends up being the host of this podcast. So it ends up being this advice giving podcast, and she is super shy and very uncomfortable. You just kind of follow her process as she branches out and tries something new. But of course, along the way, there is some romance, some friendship issues, and she ends up having a crush on somebody that her best friend also has a crush on. So there's some drama there. It was just very cutesy. I always give Casey West books 3 stars, and this was no different. It was just a 3-star read, perfect for a car ride. So those are the 4 books that I read during the last week. Hopefully I will have one more update before the end of November. But that's it for today. In addition to all of those, I did finish one more audiobook this month, and it's called 3 Blind Dates, and I don't remember the author. It is a contemporary romance, totally not my usual genre. I do sometimes listen to YA contemporary romance. As you know, the Casey West book is very typical. Those fit into my reading now and then. I don't, however, read very much adult contemporary romance because typically they end up having a lot more sex scenes than I want to be reading in my reading life. But I was still driving. I had like 6 or 8 hours to still go, And so I just found another romance. I didn't realize that it was 11 hours long, but I still listened to the whole thing. It's about this TV anchor woman who signs up for this program where this restaurant kind of matches you up. So it's almost like a dating app, but it's in real life. You get matched up and you go out on dates. But it's all blind, so you don't know who the other person is until you arrive at the restaurant. She gets matched up with 3 different men, and it's just her kind of adventure in all of that. There is an element of You've Got Mail in the book, which is a lot of fun because that is a movie that I definitely love. It just definitely was not my typical read. There was a lot of language and sex, and it was a fun read, but not a genre that I'm going to be jumping into on a regular basis. So I did complete 8 books this month, these 6 along with the 2 audiobooks. Plus I DNF'd Quiet because it was putting me into a major slump. I had a really good reading month. As far as nonfiction November goes, I did only read 2 nonfiction. Oh no, 3. Because I forgot about Educated. So there's actually 9 books that I read because Educated had to go back to the library. So I finished 9 books, DNF'd 1, and I'm actually in the middle of 2 other ones. Like really in the middle. Not just at the beginning, but in the middle of both of them. And that is Wondersmith by Jessica Townsend. This is book 2 following her debut Nevermore, which was fantastic. This is a middle grade fantasy. I don't have the nostalgia that goes along with Harry Potter. It was just a fun read for me because I read it when I was an adult, and this has that same kind of fun, enjoyment, silliness sometimes. I love that the humor is sometimes definitely going to go over the kids' heads, but I can appreciate it. From the tricksy alleys to the whinging wood, I am just along for the ride. And then I don't have the cover on this, but this is Go Set a Watchman by Harper Lee, and I'm about halfway through this as well. I'm honestly a bit bored by this one. This was on my lowest rated books on my TBR from Goodreads, and I am buddy reading this with one of my subscribers. So I'm enjoying the buddy read, taking it a little bit slow. Things are starting to pick up now. I'm starting to see what people were talking about, but really I'm overall kind of bored by it. So I'll definitely finish it, but it's not going to be a book that I need to keep on my shelves. I already know that. So why finish it? Because I am. I'm just gonna. So there you have it. Those are the books that I completed in the month of November. I would love to hear from you. How did Nonfiction November go if you participated? What was one of your favorite reads from the month? Have you read any of the ones that I did? Is Persuasion also your favorite Jane Austen? Let's chat down in the comments below. You know I love chatting with you down there about anything. Also give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I will be chatting with you very soon in another video. Bye!